Can I tell you a secret? I was secretly terrified that Arcane Season 2 was going to suck. The first season of Arcane changed my fundamental brain chemistry and was somehow both the best and the worst thing that has ever happened to me. It's the best piece of media I have ever had the pleasure of experiencing. Introduced me to some of my favorite characters who would go on to leave lasting impressions on me, told me a story that had me experiencing every emotion my brain was capable of, and showed me a world that would completely take over my brain, as well as leave me absolutely obsessed with analyzing every last part of it. It also introduced me to so many other people who shared my love for this incredible piece of art. This and so much more is why Arcane Season 1 was the best thing to have ever happened to me. As for why it's the worst, it got me addicted to this living nightmare of a game and all its buyable cosmetics! How do I click rewind IRL? But yes, needless to say, Arcane Season 1 as well as a certain character from that show are very near and dear to my heart, if that wasn't obvious. And so the up-and-coming season was honestly kinda terrifying. Season 1 had set such a high bar, and even then, most of Season 1 was just about setting up the dominoes. Now they were going to actually make them fall and build up to a satisfying conclusion. Season 1 had created an almost impossible standard, and I was so afraid that they just were not going to reach it. I mean, let's be honest, we've all been burned by continuations before, right? Stupid Ice Age 2 The Meltdown. A mammoth thinking she's a possum. How could a mammoth think she's a possum? She's like 10 times their size. Damn it, Ice Age 2 The Meltdown. You have ruined my childhood with your foolishness. So yeah, we all know the feeling of not having your expectations be met after a near perfect first installment, and like I said before, I was terrified that they were going to screw up the adaptation. I was afraid that they were going to start the season off with a time skip and we wouldn't get to see the immediate reaction to what Jinx had done. I was afraid that removing Silco from the story would make Zaun lose all their competent threats. And I was terrified that Arcane wouldn't know where to go with Jinx after the first season. But on November 9th, I faced my fears, opened up Netflix, and clicked play. And we immediately jump into the action with half the council, including Caitlyn's mom, dead, and Victor looking like he just popped out of a toaster. From the second the story started, the only thought that went through my mind, except from the barrage of feelings Arcane settled me with, was, oh, we are so back. Yes, to absolutely no one's surprise, Arcane is back and better than ever. And oh boy, do I have some thoughts. I'm just gonna go through it as it comes up in my mind with no particular order, but I do feel like I gotta start at the beginning. Oh, thank Christ that Mel survived. I don't think there was anyone who cared if that one guy who couldn't solve a puzzle made for literal children, seriously, go back and check, he never figures it out. This is the type of guy to get stuck on what goes in the square hole. And Gearhead from Rick and Morty died, but Cassandra did hurt a bit, given that it's Caitlyn's mother. But I would be lying if I were to say that I didn't see her death coming, so it's kind of expected. What's important though is that Mel and Jay survived without so much as a scratch on, which is very interesting given that Victor, who was standing right next to them, ended up looking like he was left too long in the oven. Seriously though, this man cannot catch a break. Especially given that he then fuses with the hex score and gets packed up like an action figure. Love that for him. He does remain in the cocoon for the entirety of episode 1 and doesn't get out until later on in episode 2, where he goes full robot Jesus and leaves Jace. Jokes aside, I kinda love what they're doing with Victor and the almost religious role he's now playing in the story. It's clear that the hex core not only altered his body, but also his mind, as he seems to have evolved past the need for feelings. And I can't wait to see where he and his growing cult of recovering meth heads are going. I also love the new spin they gave to Victor's glorious evolution, with him going around fixing people who have been corrupted by overuse of Shimmer with his cybernetic upgrades. I still have a lot to say about Victor and his evolution into Robo Jesus, but I think I might save that for its own video. So look forward to that. And speaking of videos that I am definitely going to be making, the intro is absolutely filled with interesting imagery, symbolism, and foreshadowing. And it is just begging to be picked apart and analyzed. Not even to mention that it changes between episodes. So yeah, you can expect a video about that within days. Unless you're from the future, where I've probably made it already and you can probably find it in the description. I can't really come up with a clever segue for this next part I want to talk about, so I'm just gonna jump right into it. Man, Caitlyn really stepped up as the main character this season. It's great to see how Vi and Kate kind of switched roles, with Kate now being the one pushing the story forward and Vi playing a more supporting role. Their relationship, on the other hand, oh, the misery. They really became enemies. Get it? I can't believe we got so close to having Kate Vi fully realized, but they just couldn't do it. Between Caitlyn's growing obsession with taking down Jinx and her newfound hatred against Saw Knights, and Vi's identity crisis with her joining the very organization that killed her parents, oppressed her loved ones, and kept her down her entire life, as well as gassing her hometown, which, like, what? Caitlyn wanting to gas the Undercity is crazy. It's understandable, but it's crazy. But Vi going along with it is bonkers. Regardless of the morality of the situation, seeing the Grey be acknowledged in Arcane was great, but I do wonder if it's more than just smog. The way it's depicted, it's almost like it's living. I can't wait to see where that goes. Just like I can't wait to see how the breakup is going to push Kate's hatred for Saw Knights further and make her feel even more isolated, making her an easy target for Ambessa to manipulate and push Vi into an emo phase? Huh. Did not see that one coming. Oh well, at least we got a kiss out of them. And speaking of love, love doesn't even begin to cover how much I adored Jinx this season. After saying goodbye to Silco one final time, she has accepted that she truly is a Jinx and that she ruins everything she touches. But what's more ironic is that she actually fixes more things than she breaks within these 3 episodes. She immediately saves Aisha from 3 worker hollows from Dark Souls 3 for pursuing them and kinda ends up taking them in, much like Silco took Jinx in when she was at her lowest. She then also ends up teaming up with Savika and even builds her a new arm. And by the way, this is the best thing Arcane has ever produced. This arm was made for me. They might as well have looked at the camera and said, "Hi Jinx, we made this one specifically for you," because this arm is everything I've ever wanted in a weapon. It's a gacha machine that gives you random power-ups, plays your theme song while you fight, and celebrates you after you finish the fight. It's perfect, and I love that creating this arm as well as them bonding over Silco's death brought Savika and Jinx closer, so that they could create their plan for finishing off what's left of Jinx's family. Which, by the way, I do think Jinx meant entirely, saying that Jinx absolutely intended to die along with Vi in the fight in episode 3, and wanted to fire up the Sonian toxic air as a final middle finger to Piltover, as well as a tribute to Silco. I mean, yeah, it's not a secret that Jinx has been carrying around a death wish after Silco's death. The song literally spells it out for you. But thanks to Savika, that plan goes completely off the rails, and after releasing Janna's wins, Jinx as well as Aisha, who by the way was also ready to blow Vi's brains out to defend Jinx, like, way to go kid, we're both saved and do live to see another day. But that kinda begs the question, who is this kid? Actually, not just the kid. Both Vi and Jinx were introduced to new characters who kinda remind me of other pre-existing characters, with Aisha obviously reminding me of a young Powder who, much like Aisha, literally jumped into her would-be savior's arms. This could be to represent how Jinx is now taking Silco's role in the story and how she's carrying on his dream for the free nation of Son. The other character who Vi meets passed out on the street is Loris, the enforcer who for some reason was just getting drunk the night before the memorial and on a work night. I'll be entirely honest with you, I have no idea what to make of Loris. He's obviously built up to be important, given that he's the first friend Vi makes among the enforcers, and the fact that he bears a striking resemblance to Vander, but other than that, I have no idea what his deal is. I'm assuming that we'll learn more about him later on. I'm just gonna leave it at that. For Loris, I still have a few theories about Aisha and who they actually might be, but going through them now would take way too long. Expect a video in a couple days. But what is probably the most interesting reveal in the entire season is the introduction of the Black Rose. First off, let me just say that I am so happy that they are a part of the story. The Black Rose and LeBlanc in particular are some of the best parts of League of Legends, and I cannot wait for them to finally get to do stuff in the story. If you aren't familiar with the Black Rose, then allow me to give you a quick spoiler-free explanation of them. The Black Rose is a shadow government that has been puppeteering Noxus and controlling it from the shadows since the Empire's creation. The Black Rose is made up of primarily spies, mages, and hemomancers who use their abilities to guide Noxus in the direction that they believe to be best. The leader of the Black Rose is a mage called LeBlanc, who has been alive and pulling the strings since the time of Noxus's first ruler, Mordekaiser. As an unrivaled illusionist and shapeshifter, LeBlanc can be anywhere or anyone. She specializes in controlling the minds and senses of others, and apparently, Ambessa somehow managed to piss her off. This is a very interesting revelation, considering that most people don't even know that the Black Rose even exists. it was also revealed that Ambessa stole something from the Black Rose. But what could that possibly be? Runic weapons like we see your soldiers carrying? Secrets that the Shadow Government doesn't want spread? I don't know yet, but I do have some ideas that I'll talk about in the future. The introduction of the Black Rose changes everything, because if they are here, then they also know about Hex Tech, which means that they also will be making a play for it, much like Ambessa is doing currently. Especially considering that they've already taken Mel, both a loved one by the only person on the planet who can make Hex Tech weapons, and the daughter of their current biggest enemy. But it also turns out that Noxus might not be the only threat that will come into play as the story moves on, because when Jace, Heimerdinger, and Echo, who by the way have been great this season, go to the base of the Hex Gate, they find what can only be described as an actual nightmare, as the overuse of Hex Tech seems to have summoned the Void. Now, if you're not a League player and don't know the lore, then let me give you a quick summary. Don't worry, this isn't going to take too long, but just know that the Void is the scariest thing there is in Runeterra. The Void is the dark nothingness that is continually annoyed with the burning light of existence and will stop at nothing to snuff it out, constantly devouring and evolving so that it can one day extinguish the very light of creation and return to its existenceless slumber. Yeah, we're getting existential with this one. Real dick move to park the ball of literal nightmares in Son's backyard, by the way. Oh, and I can't wait to see what happened to it, because there is no way hitting it with a hammer was a good idea. I mean, there is definitely a reason Jace wasn't there when Ambessa declared martial law. Oh, and let's not forget our favorite mad scientist, who's clearly sad about his daughter not calling him, and decided to fill the void in his heart by getting a dog. Sorry, I meant building a dog out of a corpse who I am all but certain of is Vander, and a Merkwolf, which, hey, reference. But no, in all seriousness, I cannot wait for Warwick to show up, and for an explanation as to why Singed seems so obsessed with making the Wolfman. Okay, I think that's going to be it for this video. I know this is different from what I usually do, but I just couldn't wait to get this video out, and I felt that I couldn't overwork this video like I've done with so many others. I'm so locked into Arcane right now, and all I want to do is keep pumping out more and more videos about it. So like I've been saying for this entire video, expect more. I hope you guys are okay with this less edited form of videos, and I hope you guys are as excited for what's to come as me. Stay jinxed.